So I was mentioning that here, spiritual self-esteem is gate 5. Let's put this is my pastor's equation. Spiritual self-esteem plus providential preventative suffering. This is the type of suffering that every believer encounters once they're in gate 5. Now, many Christians, they do have the spiritual advance, but they don't have the exact names that my pastor gives them. So they might have a different type of name for these spiritual growth and levels of spiritual growth and the type of suffering. So, just a reminder right now. But these are the names that my pastor gives them, which explains wonderfully the level of spiritual growth and the type of suffering that you suffer. So, spiritual self-esteem plus providential preventative suffering. Once you pass that equals gate 6. That is spiritual autonomy. Autonomy means that you're independent of people. You do not divorce from them. You do not isolate yourself, but you do not depend on people anymore for your happiness. Furthermore, you can love them impersonally a lot more, and therefore they have not much effect, a very limited effect on you. And that is the beginning of happiness, because people are one of the greatest sources of misery. The moment that you can love people impersonally, it means is the day that they have less effect on you, less impact on you whenever they try to pester you, whenever they try to make your life impossible, hurt you, or whatever it is. Because you love them personally, as a result, they have less of an impact in your life. So this is the beginning of happiness. Well, spiritual self-esteem is the next part. So we got spiritual self-esteem plus momentum testing. This is the momentum that you need in order for you to get all the way to gate 8. Without it, you cannot advance to the next level. And so that equals spiritual maturity. And then spiritual maturity in gate 8 is when you encounter your evidence test and you get that honor of becoming a witness in the prosecution of Satan. And so you suffer a great testing from the hands of Satan, or from the hands from a high quality demon, one of those high ranking demons, and that is called evidence testing. You could go the way of Job, or you can go the way of Abraham. Job suffered extreme testing. He lost all his children. He suffered extreme health, almost died. Abraham went to the test of sacrificing something that he really loved, almost went to the point of sacrificing it, but he was stopped by God. And this equals the glorification, the maximum glorification of God, MGG. This is the protocol plan of God. Okay, let us begin with a few tests. At this moment, if you might be very close to gate 5, and you're still suffering. You're encountering a few sufferings right now to prepare your way for the big one, and it's okay. So let us talk about some of these things, because you're probably encountering a lot of these right now at this moment. What do we have? It's a continuation of verse 3. Giving not one opportunity to strike, not one cause for stumbling in anything, so that the ministry will not be discredited. And then verse 4, but rather, instead of giving a stumbling block or an opportunity to strike to anyone, you do something instead. This is the opposite. Instead, sunistantes. This is the present active participle of sunistemi. Now let me pull up my notes. I know I should have been reading my notes right now already. I'm a terrible note reader. Here we have sunistemi, that word for commendation that we saw in Paul's sarcasm. I'm still amazed at the ability for Paul to say something sarcastic, be funny while doing so, and then just bring in the next verses with a whole bunch of packed doctrine, technical doctrine. Okay, so sunistantes. This is a participle. Sunistemi can mean commending, proving, demonstrating. So we're going to translate commending, but in the sense of demonstrating yourself to be a minister of God, proving yourself to be a minister of God. Oh, God already knows you're a minister of Him. God already knows it. He gave you the ministry of reconciliation as per verse 18. Diakoniantes katalages, the ministry of reconciliation. So you are a minister. Here we are, diakonoi. The one I mentioned up there was the noun of diakonia, the ministry. This is the adjective, the noun, as with reference to you as a minister. Diakonos. Diakonos can be used for a government official, a government minister, as per Romans chapter 13. It could be a reference to the ministry, a pastor teacher, or it could also be a reference to the ordinary believer who's a minister. And this is the ordinary believer, diakonoi. You are a minister of God. From the moment that you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, you receive this, you receive your ministry, and as a result, you are a minister. The effect or the impact that you have on people depends on your spiritual growth. It's as easy as that. But that still does not take the fact that positionally you have these as part of your one portfolio of invisible assets. Diakonoi. Commending, okay, but rather commending, present active participle, commending in the sense of proving, demonstrating yourself in front of people. This is one of those areas where opinions of people do matter. You thought that opinions don't matter? Yes, to a certain extent, limited extent, they do matter in the right areas and the right time. And this is one of those areas where it does matter because you're going to be suffering many things and people are going to be watching you. You don't like that? Okay, just wait up till you get a little bit more doctrine. Sunistemi, present active participle. The present tense is a progressive present, something that you continue doing, descriptive present, you continue doing in the midst of suffering, regardless of whatever suffering it is. Also, not just suffering, but in the midst of prosperity. The active voice, you produce the action of the verb of you being a minister, proving yourself through the application of Bible doctrine, the 10 problem-solving devices in the midst of suffering. And the participle is circumstantial. It is coterminous with not imposing a stumbling block, not giving an opportunity to strike. Instead, the opposite effect is commending yourselves as a minister, proving, demonstrating yourself as a minister. We're going to translate it commending, demonstrating. So there's going to come the point where you're going to commend yourself. God might not use you yet at this moment, but once you get a grade 5, he's going to put you in a situation where he's going to want you to represent him. You're going to get that high honor of being able to represent Christ. And you're going to represent him well in a situation of crisis, a situation of suffering, of hopelessness, or whatever it is. God is going to put you at the right place at the right time so that you can shine and show the light. It doesn't matter if you're a man or if you're a woman, if you're black or white, if you're rich or poor, he's going to put you there. If you have a handicap, a physical handicap, it doesn't matter if you have a physical handicap. If you're partly blind, if you cannot walk, if you have ADHD, it doesn't matter. God is going to put you there. And you're going to be able to represent him. You're going to get that high honor, that privilege of representing Christ. And rightly so. You're going to love it. At first, when you encounter that suffering situation, you might be like, uh-oh. You might not know where this is going, but at least you're ready to apply Bible doctrine. And so you begin applying Bible doctrine. And then little do you know, when you're in the midst of it, that's when you start realizing, uh-oh, this is one of those situations where I'm going to shine. And so you just continue applying. Do not get full of yourself. Continue applying, continue applying. Okay. Commending yourself, demonstrating yourself, proving yourself. Here, Paul speaks in the first person, commending ourselves because we have here heautos, reflects a first person pronoun, ourselves, commending ourselves as ministers of God. Why does he switch to ourselves? Because we are talking about working together. But since we are working together, we also urge you not to receive the grace of God in vain, giving not one reason, one cause for stumbling in anything, so that our ministry would not be discredited, but rather commending ourselves. That's what Paul and his team do. Therefore, follow our example, Corinthians. We're speaking as a team right now. We are working together. So therefore, Paul switches to the first person. This is hortatory, cohortative. See, I learned the words. I looked them up. It's in the Latin is hortior, hortari. Oh my gosh, I forgot it. But it's present active participle, commending ourselves. And then n plus the neuter, dative neuter of pas. In all things. If it was masculine, it would be everyone. If it was feminine, everyone, woman, but it's neuter, everything. In all things. Commending ourselves in everything. And he means everything. First of all, you impose no stumbling block in anything. Instead, you commend yourselves in everything, in all things. How did I translate it? But instead of commending ourselves as ministers of God, and I did not put it, okay, in everything for now, okay? In all things, in everything. And then we have the comparative hos right here, as. How do you commend yourself? In what way? What do you commend yourself? What are you trying to demonstrate? That you are a minister of God. But I am a minister of God. Yes, but in front of people, they do not know this. And so you demonstrate yourself to be a minister of God. How? How do I do it? By applying Bible doctrine and patient endurance, being able to handle all this pressure. You commend yourself and you represent Christ correctly, wellly, while you're doing so. As, and then we have here, Theu and diakonoi. Diakonoi, yes, it can mean servant. It has the low meaning of serving tables. It has the high meaning of being an emissary, an envoy of the king. And this has both meanings. The low meaning, you serve people, you love them personally, and you handle the pressure. Even though they're going after you and they're attacking you and they're pestering you, you do not retaliate. The low meaning. But then at the end, you also come out shining. Well, you were shining the whole time, because if you're applying Bible doctrine, your spiritual life was shining. But at the end, you come out victorious. This is the high meaning of it. Oh, when God makes you victorious, he makes sure that he puts you out there and you come out shining. Don't think that all the time is just you suffering and suffering and suffering and then it just ends like that. The Lord Jesus Christ, after all, he suffered 3 hours taking the sins of the whole world. First of all, from 9 p.m. to 12 p.m., enduring extreme physical torture to the point that his face was unrecognizable. The demon boys were trying to kill him. And then from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., he suffered the imputation and the judgment of all the sins of the whole world. Did it end like that? Nope. 3 days later, he resurrected, he ascended, and he sat down. Well, he resurrected 3 days later. He lived on the earth for about 40 days. And then he ascended, and he sat down at the right hand of God the Father in his glorified state, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. So that's a high meaning. See, it's not just the low meaning, it's also the high meaning. Diakonoi. Ministers, and then the possessive genitive. Ministers belonging to God, or servants. That's also the objective genitive. You serve, you minister in terms of serving God. You're not his co-worker. You're his co-worker in the sense that you belong to him, but you don't. He's not your worker, and you're like his co-worker, and you're working together like in a tag team match, and you switch shifts. And now I'm gonna clock out, and you come in for me. It's ridiculous. We are all co-workers, but we all belong to God. Co-workers of God. So again, servants, ministers of God. This is for you, for anyone. If you have the gift of pastor, teacher, or if you don't. If you have the gift of communication, evangelist, pastor, teacher, or if you don't, you are a minister of God, and you better start taking that seriously. I don't see myself. It doesn't matter. You just keep learning Bible doctrine. Just watch. See how everything falls into its place. So, commending ourselves, but rather commending ourselves in everything as ministers of God. You commend yourselves as ministers of God in the midst of pressure, applying Bible doctrine, demonstrating that you can handle the pressure, that you have patient endurance in the midst of pressure. And let me mention these in the next video.